Hello from a very chilly Southern California. Um, I'm sure, it's been really, really cold here. Unfortunately, I had to put on some longer shorts today. So you think you people in Chicago have it bad. Anyways, good to see you all. Health Coach Art here. I wanted to talk to you today about something a little bit different. It's a term that I've come to learn and realize and start using in my own coaching. It's called um, our moment on the edge. And what this is, I kind of define this as when we come to a place in our life where we have no options but to make a decision. Um, it's kind of like a crossroads. You have two directions you can go, only two. There's no in between, and there's really no backtracking. It could be health issues, it could be maybe a relationship problem or whatever, something you need to decide about. But it's just that place where you have come to where there is no longer putting off deciding what you're going to do. Our moment on the edge. It's kind of like, you're facing a crossroads, and in one direction, it's unknown. It's unfamiliar to you. You know that it's kind of like there's hope there. You want hope that it's going to be an improvement, a better life, a better health. Okay. The other direction is when we don't do anything. And you will go in that direction just because you not do anything, you didn't decide anything. You have, what's that Rush song? By not making a decision, you've made your decision basically. If you don't make your decision, you're going on that right side, and that we know is going to lead us into something probably negative, maybe even life-threatening. So what I wanted to do is tell you about my own moment on the edge that I came to, and maybe many of you will be able to relate to that. Some of you know my story. Maybe you're listening to my videos for the first time. But in 2020, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, stage 3 kidney disease, almost very close to stage 4. And I had other chronic illness problems such as acid reflux, high blood pressure, dealt with gout, and probably some others I'm forgetting about. But this came about in October of 2020 when I received my diagnosis. But I had been experiencing symptoms, and in some cases very severe symptoms of diabetes, for several months before that. That was the year of the coronavirus. Everyone remembers that. And so it was a very difficult year for me. Before I got my diagnosis, I started experiencing things like severe fatigue, muscle fatigue, walking up a flight of stairs and feeling like I just done a bunch of squats, not necessarily being out of breath, but just like my muscles just weren't working right. I could be standing here working with my head down for a few minutes, and then my neck muscles would feel so strained and weak, I'd have to stand up. Okay. I'm telling you these symptoms because if you are experiencing any of this, you need to pay attention to it. And it progressed through several other things, all to the point of where my vision I was starting to have problems with my vision. I could be standing here, and all of a sudden, within a few minutes, my vision would just kind of white out, like I was in a blizzard, or like looking through a bright white kaleidoscope. And this could last anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And being an artist, that really frightened me because I always had this fear of losing my vision. And when I started experiencing that, I thought that was going on. So this was over a period of between May 2020 and September. So a few months. But here's the thing, guys. When it comes to type 2 diabetes, I'm talking about not type 1. I had been diagnosed pre-diabetic 18 months before that. Okay. And I ignored it because in my mind, pre meant I didn't have it. Okay. So I don't have to worry about it. It's just kind of like a warning sign, right? Well, it was a warning sign that I did not heed. And because I didn't pay attention to it, it progressed to this. So I was probably a diabetic well before I was ever diagnosed. Okay. And I'm telling you, if you get to the point where you're feeling, they call diabetes a silent killer because you can have it and feel just fine. But when you get to a place of where you are experiencing the symptoms that I'm describing, the fatigue, the issues with your vision, frequent urination. I mean, oh God, I'd be up out of at night every 15, 20 minutes. And I was probably urinating more fluids than I was taking in. And that's bad because that's telling you that something's going on with your kidneys, right? So what I'm trying to say is if you are experiencing any of these kinds of symptoms, okay, you need to take them seriously because by the time diabetes gets to a place where physical symptoms are now being experienced, that's bad. Okay, you are going in a direction of where you could experience irreversible consequences that could be life-threatening. I could have lost my vision, and because there is blindness that is associated with diabetes. I have no doubt in my mind that the reason why I had stage 3 kidney disease was because I had let the diabetes go on so long. So October of 2020, I remember October 19th, my doctor's first words to me, Mr. Clark, let's talk to you about your diabetes. And I didn't know what that, I had no clue what type 2 diabetes was. All I knew is that you have to occasionally, prick your finger. And that didn't sound real appealing. But so I was scared. I mean, the doctor may as well told me I had cancer, that he just gave me a death sentence because I didn't know anything about it. So I was now at my moment on the edge. I had 2 directions I can go. I could do nothing, which meant going off in this one other direction and probably with no return. Okay. When you're down, especially with your kidneys, stage 3, I was only about, I think 8 points away from stage 4. And at that point, you're looking at dialysis and getting on a transplant list. Okay. It's, I know people will argue with me. I've had people blast me on Facebook about, mentioning that I reversed my kidney disease. Okay. Everything will tell you it cannot be done. I have the lab results to prove that I did it. Okay. But we'll get there. So I was on the edge. I had to make a decision. I could either see what I could do to improve my health, and if anything, just stop the progression of the kidney disease, manage the diabetes, okay? Or I could opt to do nothing and live a short, miserable life, eventually wired to a machine, which is probably where I would have died, okay? I had no choice. That is being on the edge, okay? Fortunately, I opted to do something about my health. I had no idea what to do. All I knew is I had to lose weight. At that point, I weighed about 260 pounds. I weigh about 205 now, teetering between 200 and 205. My A1C was almost 13. It should not be over 5.7. Okay. My EGFR on my kidneys, which is the number that determines how well your kidneys are functioning, I believe was about 36. Okay. We should be 60 or higher. 29 or lower, now you're getting into stage 4, which is a bad place to be. So again, like I had no idea what to do. All I knew is I needed to lose weight, I needed to eat healthy, and probably get some exercise. That's where I started. I quickly learned that I think in my case, one of the biggest contributors to not just my extra weight, but my health issues was how much sugar I was consuming. I calculated one day that I was probably consuming somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 to 90 teaspoons of sugar per day. And I'm talking about added sugar. Okay. I'm not talking about the sugar, the natural sugars that are in oranges or apples. even potatoes, okay, things like that. I'm talking about that white stuff that we used to sprinkle on our cereal, okay. I had to get that under control. So my immediate switch was I was drinking somewhere around 60 ounces of regular soda per day. I made Pepsi very rich. So my first thing to do was, okay, if I got to have soda, it's got to be sugar free. And I made a rule with myself that for every ounce of soda I drank, I had to drink an ounce of water. That was my first step. I didn't know what else to do. And I will tell you this, I didn't do much else for about 2 or 3 weeks. That was it. That alone, within 2 weeks, I saw a considerable difference in how I felt. A little bit of weight came off. I could see a difference in my skin. I was more focused. The cravings were starting to go away. I would crave things like red grapes instead of Pepsi or ice cream and cookies and things like that. So that was, my response to being on the edge. Okay. I look back on that and I think, what if I had not done that? What if I just kind of gave in and accepted, this is the way it is. I'll just take my medicine and try to eat a little better, at least stay where I'm at. I wouldn't be here today. As far as I wouldn't be making this video, I could care less. Well, that's not exactly true, but I would not have this passion to help other people that are dealing with these kinds of issues. And that's because that's why I'm here. So my result of my decision resulted in almost a 60-pound weight loss. When I started, my body fat percentage was 40%. It's down to about, it teeters between 17 and 18% right now. I was wearing 44-inch pants at a 44-inch waistline. Now I'm 36. Okay. And I could sit here and go into, okay, the diet. I didn't diet, but the foods I ate, stuff like that. But that's gonna have to be another video for now. I'll just tell you that I threw myself very hard into the healthy eating. Cut way back on red meat, no pork, sugar, of course, and really limited myself on dairy. And I tell you what, I don't miss any of it. I don't miss any of it at all. I feel so much better. Okay. My A1C now is 5.7 or 5.6. That took me, for me to correct my A1C only took about 3 or 4 months. It was amazing, between exercise, and I wasn't at that time, I wasn't exercising that hard. I was walking around the block every other day, a few times a week. Eventually, I decided to get into Fit Lab, which is kind of a lighter version of CrossFit, which my wife and I do 3 times a week now. And that's probably what kept the progress going. I am perpetually sore for sure, but I'd rather that than be sick. The better news, of course, was that after about, I should say 6 months or so, my EGFR went from 36 to 85. Okay. I have perfectly healthy kidneys. Again, look it up. Can you reverse kidney disease? And most everything you read will say no. Well, I did it. Okay. If you want to argue with me on it, go ahead. But I have the lab results posted on my Facebook profile to show that I did it. So I talk about all this because, number one, my job as a coach and my drive as a coach is to work with people that aren't at that crossroads yet, but maybe they can see it. If I can catch somebody well in advance, great. But let's face it, most of the people that I deal with as a coach are like me or like I was, and wait until they have no choice. They have to do something. Okay. And if that's the case, so be it. But my goal is to reach people that crossroads, that edge is out there, but they're not quite there yet. And they're at a place where it's an easier time for them to make a change in their life, because that's what it's all about, changing habits. Bad habits got me to that edge, and it took good habits to get me out of it. Okay. So with that said, if you are at a place where you can see that crossroads, or maybe you're already there and you just don't know what to do, let's talk. I would invite you to message me, spend a good 45 minutes, maybe 60 minutes with me, talking about what's going on. And we can, take a look at what your goals are, your vision, what are you dealing with, and decide at that point, are we good to work together? We need to be a good fit. And that's what it's all about. So please do something. If it's not, contact me, or then somebody else maybe, or ask your doctor. Doctors are good sources for, many doctors now support health and life coaching. My doctor says so. So feel free to message me if you have any questions. And my email, I will put it up here. So that's it. Hopefully I see you next time, but you're nowhere near the edge. Okay. Bye-bye.